Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the InterSim Esports Network. Once again, for your Sunday night of viewing tonight, we bring you the Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries for what will be round 4 around the Kentucky Speedway for 134 laps. My name's Aidan Schultz. Joining me in the booth, as always, is Paul Jackson. Good evening to you, Paul.
Good evening, Aidan. How are we all doing tonight? Thanks everyone tuning in on the InterSim Esports Network, and good to be here another Sunday night at Kentucky.
Yeah, looking forward to some action-packed racing tonight, Paul, in what is an absolutely stonker of a field tonight. It's going to be a very jam-packed track as we see a driver just get a little bit loose, Ian Class, down the back straight there at Kentucky. They're already into qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. We're a little bit late in our broadcast, and I take responsibility for that one. I'm sorry I got my times mixed up and I was enjoying my banana cake, so I do apologise about that. But we're here and we're into qualifying, and Barry Neal currently sits at the top with a 30.77. Scott Rankin in the second position, currently 30.87. Cade Donnelly up there going in third place with a 30.97. But looking forward to bringing all the action to you here on the InterSim Esports Network, as Paul said as well. Mate, back at the Ovals, the guys come from doing the Daytona Road Course last week, so I'm sure quite a few of these drivers are excited to get back turning left.
Definitely, it'll be some fast-paced racing tonight. Some bunched-up fields, I think, as we'll go door-to-door racing back on the ovals.
Yeah, we definitely will, and like we've become accustomed to see here for the Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries, of course, naming right sponsor RayWhite Rural Gayndah. There's a lot of 2-3 wide action, and how these guys start is not necessarily how it ends up, and it hasn't been that way through season 1 and definitely now for season 2. But Barry Neal still setting the pace at the moment with a 30.77. Scott Rankin second on a 30.87. Ruben Phelps has just jumped up into third place with a 30.97. Cade Donnelly equal 30.94 for Ruben, rather. Cade Donnelly up into fourth place with a 30.97. Justin Witcher, your reigning series champion and currently sitting in the second position in the championship, second or third, I believe it is, and we'll bring you the championship points at the end of this one. He's just jumped into third place with a 30.91. Good evening to you too, Ryan. Thanks for tuning in on the InterSim Esports Network, mate. Good to see you here. Keep us company all night. Of course, we'll have your trivia here on a Sunday night as we go through the broadcast, but they're 3.5 minutes by the looks of it through qualifying there, Paul. Is that 4 minutes? My screen's just going a little bit crazy on me. So my screen's going a little bit crazy on me, so I'll just refresh that one for you, and that's a little bit better. So 4 minutes into qualifying at the moment. I'll run through your top 10 so you can find your favourite driver and see where they will start the Kentucky race here for 134 laps. Sorry, I've got other things going on. But what we'll do before we bring you to top 10s, we'll go through that on the grid, obviously. We will go through your current championship points coming into what is round 4 tonight. So at the top there is Scott Rankin in second place, Justin Witcher, reigning champion, Troy Davidson in third, Sean Hart in fourth, Andy Barber in fifth, Cade Donnelly in sixth, Darren McKenzie in seventh, Raymond Yeager in eighth, Gary Wellman in ninth, Aaron Dillon rounding out your 10 so far, 3 rounds into what is an 11-round season 2 here for the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries as your championship results. And you can see Derek Jacobs there as they scroll through. He's sitting back there in the 24th. He'll be looking for a better night tonight. Not sure if he's out there. I'll have a look through the field. It doesn't look like we have Derek Jacobs out there tonight. But it's going to be a great night of action here on the InterSim Esports Network. Of course, once again, your location is Kansas Speedway for 134 laps. Tyre wear will be an issue. Fuel will be an issue as we see Sam Katakouzanos on screen. And we've got a 10-minute of quali tonight, so it looks like their session... they've advanced qualifying, so that's good. It looks like they still had the 10 minutes qualifying up from the road race last week, but looks like we're going green flag racing. Troy Davidson can't make it tonight, unfortunately. Have a good race, though. Everyone keep tuned in here, Troy. we'll be sure to bring you all the action. But we'll go through your starting grid for round number 4, and it is Barry Neal from New Zealand off the front row with Scott Rankin, Raymond Yeager, Justin Witcher off the second row, Ruben Phelps, Cade Donnelly off the third row, Todd Maxfield and Sean Hart out of the fourth row, Gary Wellman and Aaron Dillon out of the fifth row. Out of the sixth row will be Adam Malone and Nigel Payton. Out of the seventh row, I can't read that because my screen...
Seventh row there, Warwick Sharp and Aaron Bryan. Eighth row, Andy Barber and Philip Howe. Ninth row, Ash Nessa and Max Riley. And on the 10th row, Peter Matson and newcomer, I think, to the series, US driver. And sorry if I get this wrong, but we'll go with George Rincon. On the 11th row, John Quass and Brett Campbell. And the 12th row, Joe Torcasio and Greg Spencer.
And I'm back and I'm good at the moment. For some reason, my screen keeps going blurry. So 25th position will be Steve Hoppett. 26th position will be Darren McKenzie. Don't expect him to stay there for too long. Sam Catacouzenos out of 27. Jamie Nankervis out of 28. Tristan Koch out of 29. And Ian Quass out of the 30th position for what will be a 30-car grid here around Kansas Speedway for 134 laps. Paul, your teammate, setting the pole for this one. He's always quick, always there or thereabouts. I'm sure you'll be watching him like a hawk to see whether he can get a good result tonight.
Yeah, just missed out on the old podium last week, so fingers crossed Barry can do it for the team and get the Alto Royal Racing car home in the podium position.
Yeah, hopefully he does for you guys, mate. Hopefully he does well. He's always quick. And please, when we get to our InterSim Esports Network trivia, do not ask me how to pronounce that because you know I am terrible. So Ryan's just asked in the chat as these guys roll out under the pace car ready to go green, how many rounds of trivia do we get tonight? So I don't know if he's referencing how many yellows we get tonight because usually we do it under yellow. So the other night, though, around Indianapolis in our other broadcast, we only got 2 yellows, so we had to do it through the green flag runs. But we'll be sure to give you the InterSim Esports Network trivia here on your Sunday night. I've got my beautiful partner Prue in the background working feverishly to give me all the wrong answers to make me look like an idiot here on the broadcast. So we're ready to go green very shortly. Barry Neal, he will lead away the pack. Scott Rankin, your championship leader, a good solid qualifying there for Scott. He's on the outside of that front row. Raymond Yeager and Justin Witcher, the Pinnacle Esports Racing teammates, will be off the second row with Ruben Phelps and Cade Donnelly off that third row. Pace car will be coming in very, very shortly and we'll go green for what will be 134 laps around Kansas Speedway. The field is in the hands of Barry Neal. He'll be waiting for that green flag. The lights are up, green flag, and we are green for round 4 of the Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries, brought to you by RayWhite Rural Gayndah. And Barry Neal gets a good jump on the inside there over Scott Rankin. Scott will try hold around the outside through turns number 1 and 2 the first time around, and looks like he will do that. Raymond Yeager getting a good jump off the inside of that second row, looking to make the run down on Scott Rankin. But as we've seen very much here on the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries, draft is king, and that's exactly what you saw by Raymond Yeager there, getting the jump over Scott Rankin. So they'll all want to get in file and get in the draft and follow each other as these first couple of laps do play out. It's not as crazy at the front early, Paul. They've gone single file as we go on back to Ruben Phelps. Ruben is sitting there in the 10th position. He's dropped back 5 positions from his starting position. So Sean Hart's just made the move on him around the outside. So Ruben Phelps might know something we don't know already and dropping back very quickly as we saw. We saw it, was it? No, it was in the Next Gens we saw when we brought it to you the other night. There was a big, no, it was actually 2 rounds ago, wasn't it, Paul, in these supercars, that there was a big issue, was it around Kansas or Phoenix, where they had an issue with the front right tyre, and we saw a lot of drivers blow that front right tyre.
Yeah, Phoenix Speedway, and hopefully Ruben's pit crew has their act together tonight as well, not doing a double tyre change on his car. It's
fun. Actually, really, really good point. And I know I talk about my racing sometimes. and you obviously talk about yours as well here on the broadcast, because a lot of the people tuning in here on the Indus Esports Network, they don't really get to see us race. They just get to see, listen to our amazing voices on a Tuesday, Friday and Sunday night as we see Todd Maxfield getting the run down the inside there of Cade Donnelly. You'll see the Sim Boys racing outfits have a little bit of a different livery now. They're a lot harder to see, very dark. But back to what I was saying, Paul, talk about Phoenix Raceway. I actually, and the glitches, sorry, that Ruben had through pit lane, I raced the full throttle truck open league this morning from Phoenix, and I put it on pole and led all the way up to the first pit stop under green, no cautions, was leading by 4.5 seconds, and I come into pit lane, stopped in my box, and it just wouldn't let me go anywhere. So my pit crew decided to say, no, I'm not changing tyres or putting fuel in, but I couldn't escape from the car. I couldn't do anything. I had to shut it all down and re-go again. When I rejoined, I was 10 laps down. So iRacing having a few little glitches lately, Paul.
Maybe we just inserted I don't know, what's the word, a mole into your pit crew there to sabotage the team, since you've been winning too much stuff in your team there.
Well, I was actually going to say the opposite. I actually think we don't need to insert a mole, because I do a good enough job at ruining my own races, let alone having iRacing help the cause. So that was a little bit disappointing, especially second in the championship coming into what was round 7 too. And my championship contender finished 9th, but look at that run on the outside. Ruben Phelps getting a good run on the outside there. He's got Sean Hart and Warwick Sharp to contend with. Sean Hart, Warwick Sharp, say that twice really quickly, as Ruben Phelps getting a really good run around the outside of those two. He's going to get right into the slipstream of those cars on the outside, and he's going to get that job done as they make their way down the main straight into turns 1 and 2 one more time. So Ruben Phelps up into the 9th position. He did start out of the 5th position, dropped back a little bit, but he's slowly taking that Aussie Esports ZB Commodore up to the front. Barry Neal's just had, did Barry just have an incident in the front, you just said to me, Paul? No, he's gone.
Barry is gone.
Absolutely bolted. I thought you said he stacked it in my ear, and I'm like, no,
I said he gapped it.
Barry gapped it at the front. He sure has. 31.24 was his last second. Scott Rankin behind him, 31.64. He's extended that gap out to 2.7 at the front. So very unusual to see here for the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries. Barry's no mug. He'll know exactly what he is doing. So whether he's just seeing what that tyre wear does and trying to run hard early, as you can see that gap visibly opening up there from the back wing of Barry Neal. And how good are those shots here on the Indus Esports Network, showing one of his sponsors. But yeah, he's running really hard here. He's now gapped that lead out from Scott Rankin to nearly 3 seconds, as we're on board with Scott Rankin there, your current championship leader going into tonight's round. Obviously, a big shout out to the sponsors, RayWhite Rural Gayndah, the Sim Racing Edge for the leaderboard on the left side, Witcher Electrics, of course, as well. So we still go green here. We're 11 into 134, a long way to go. Todd Maxfield's had a good start though. He's up into 3rd position, started out of the 7th position. He's slowly made his way forward to just be in behind Scott Rankin at the moment in the 3rd position, as that gap continues to grow by Barry Neal out in the front of this motor race. So at this stage, Ryan Barber's got it right. Not too much into Sim Esports Network trivia at this stage. We're still green, and we've got about 123 laps to go. So buckle in, ladies and gentlemen, everyone tuning in here on the Indus Esports Network across our platforms of Facebook and YouTube, soon to be Twitch again, as Nigel Payton's in a nice little fierce battle there at the moment. He's got Warwick Sharp, Ruben Phelps, Adam Malone, Aaron Bryan, Max Riley, everyone all around him. So Nigel Payton in the Pinnacle Esports car, just following Ruben there down the back straight into the 3 and 4 turns one more time. He's now gone up onto that high line that we saw work very well for Ruben just a couple of laps ago. Doesn't look like it's working just as well, as these guys are just starting to fan out. But he's just going to sit up on that high line. You'll see him do it again through turns 1 and 2 this time around. We'll see whether he can get the run around the outside of Ruben, but Ruben's going to have the draft. Looks like Rubens just tried to cover that off on Nigel. That could have ended very, very badly. The good driving by all drivers. As we're on board with Max Riley now, given some people in the mid-pack a little bit of love here on the IndySim Esports Network. Max Riley up 3 spots, started out of the 18th position. They're having a nice solid run to this one. That's Sam Katakouzenos, you can see in the background there. Adam Malone coming off the 2nd position this morning in the truck race I was in. So Adam Malone from Southern Stars Esports Racing looking to back that up. But Sam Katakouzenos up 11 spots on his 16th starting position, but that hasn't come without a little bit of drama. As you can see, a little bit of a scrub on the outside of that Bushfink Racing entry of Sam Katakouzenos. It's actually on the left-hand side by the looks of that call. My screen's still a little bit blurry, so looks like he's had a little bit of a rub there with one of the competitors through one of these turns at Kentucky Speedway, but we're still green. Pinnacle Esports guys there, Justin Witcher and Raymond Yeager fighting it out for the 4th and 5th position. They've got Cade Donnelly and Aaron Dillon and Gary Wellman, so the Simboys Racing entry guys, the guys always battling at the front of this RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCARS eSeries, making their way to the back end of the podium. But the story of the night so far, Paul, as we're nearly 20 laps into 134, is your man, Barry Neal. He's gapped the field by 4.4 seconds, and he's continually over 0.2 of a second quicker than the rest of the field, and he doesn't have a draft.
Yeah, well, we rebuilt the car, I think, after last week, and put on that supercharger, and he's just gone like a rocket this week.
Well, speak of rebuilding the car, as these guys battle it out here for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th position. Rebuilding the car, I know you're going to be launching a new livery soon for your team for the 2022 season. Us at Aussie Esports actually launched ours on socials today. How's your livery going, mate? Are you going to be launching that one for you boys shortly?
Well, yeah, I did mention on Friday night we put the pause on that with the next gen cars, hoping that iRacing will update the position of the numbers there on the SimStamp numbers.
That's right.
So we don't run those custom numbers, as it likes to cause havoc with paints.
Yeah, that's right, you did. So, yeah, he's had an oopsie. He's just made his way out of pit lane. Looks like he had to come in and serve a little bit of damage there, or he might have actually got a penalty off the start, but if he did that, he would have been disqualified already, as they're already 20-odd laps into 134. So not the start Steve Hoppert wanted. He's straight back into pit lane to transition down there again. So not the way he wanted to start this one. But anyway, back on with the racing, and it is Sean Hart. Sean Hart coming off some very solid races here for the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCARS eSeries, and he's going backwards a little bit in this one. So we'll see how Sean Hart goes as this long green flag run does play out. But Sean Hart, he's down 4 spots from where he started. He started out of the 8th position, but he's got his teammate with him as well. So that's not a bad place to be. So Sean Hart and Aaron Bryan working in tandem there, just in front of Sam Katakouzenos. Sam's going to want to make his way up. He's now up 14 spots from his starting position. A very unlike Sam K qualifying performance, putting it right back in 27th position on the 3rd last row of the grid. So he's going to want to make his way up through the field. But Aaron Dillon here, we're on board with. Aaron Dillon has Cade Donnelly, his teammate. Cade Donnelly, always one to watch here for the Australasian SUPERCARS eSeries. At the moment, they're all getting schooled out the front by Barry Neal, who now has opened the gap by 5 seconds. Got a lot to play out in strategies, etc., etc. Is Barry Neal going too hard too early? Is the rest of the field just waiting and saving their stuff for the end? Time will tell here on the IndySim Esports Network, so do not turn off your dial, as there is a lot of action still to unfold right in front of you. But Justin Witcher having a good run. He started out of the 4th position. As we're still on board with Aaron Dillon, you can see Justin Witcher just in behind that little battle between Aaron Dillon and Cade Donnelly. He is just sitting there in the 6th position now, but I've just heard Mia too, and I'm watching that. We've just gone on board. Sam Katakouzenos, last lap, I said he was up 14 positions. Now he's up another 4 and make that 5. He's just gone up into the 9th position. He's getting that, well, trying to get that move done on Raymond Jaeger down the main straight this time around as they go into turns number 1 and 2 once again. So he'll try and get that job done down on the bottom over Raymond Jaeger. It looks like he's going to make that move stick as they go down the back straight. So Sam Katakouznos, our biggest mover early in this one, 25 of 134 laps. He's got Ruben Phelps, the next target on his agenda, just in front of him. It looks like he's wanting to make the move pretty quickly with the way he's moved up this field. So it looks like a lot of these guys could just be backing off a little bit as Barry Neal. That gap is just actually starting to plateau at the front now. So this is this is going to be an interesting part of this run. Barry Neal's gone out hard very early. A lot of the guys have stayed in the draft and just circulated their way around Kentucky Speedway. So we'll see how that happens. Andy Barber on board with him. Andy Barber coming off an unfortunate race today. I got into him as well, so I apologise to you, Andy Barber, for that little bit of an incident. But he's always back here in the Southern Stars Esports Racing outfit on to put on a good show, and he always does. He's had a lot of podiums lately, and he'll be looking at backing that one up in the number 5 Southern Stars Esports Racing entry. Currently back in the 18th position, but that is nowhere that you don't want to be in the Australasian Supercar eSeries, because we see as the back end of these races, things do change. Have a look at that. Darren McKenzie back in the 23rd position. Usually we see him one that wants to move up quickly here for the Australasian Supercar eSeries rounds that we broadcast, and he's sitting back there in the 23rd position. His last lap was 0.7 of a second slower than your leaders at the moment. So Darren McKenzie, that's had a few fuel issues in the last couple of rounds, not making it to the end, might be playing this one a little bit early and making sure he's safe and be able to race at the end. So Paul, we're still not caution. They're going really well around Kentucky Speedway tonight. Great racing. Sam Katakouznos now's just dropping back a little bit after probably using a lot of tyre to make his way up through the field. He's just sitting there in 10th position. Looks like Nigel Payton and Raymond Jaeger have got the job done on him. So Sam Katakouznos just sort of hit that brick wall now and stagnated on his lap time after making up what was 17 positions in the first or opening exchanges of this one.
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of tyre drop off the longer we go, but Barry Neal now coming around to lap Tristan Koch there.
Going around Tristan.
They're still looking to keep the pace going. The gap's starting to drop off, as you mentioned, down to a 5.2 on Scotty Rankin there. Scotty Rankin just seems to have broken away from Todd Maxfield now as well, about a second gap between the two now.
Yeah, Scott Rankin on pace with Barry Neal, with 31.5 to a 31.5. Barry Neal and Scott Rankin. Todd Maxfield in third there. Just dropped off a 10th off the back of Scott Rankin, so that gap's now opened up to 1.5 seconds. There's Todd Maxfield on screen at the moment. He's actually got 7 seconds behind him to the next competitor, which is Aaron Dillon in the 4th position. So it's definitely strategy playing out here early. There's no way that these guys would have these gaps here for the Australasian Supercar eSeries early. So it's strategy. So we'll see how this all plays out. But let's take the opportunity with 30 into 134. Let's take the opportunity to go on board with one of your drivers here for the Australasian Supercar eSeries. We'll go on with your man in 10th position, the biggest mover of the night, up 17 positions. Let's go on with Sam Katakouznos for a couple of laps around Kentucky Speedway. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of laps on board with Sam Katakuzanos around Kentucky Speedway. Paul and I were just listening, and Paul was talking to me in the background where we were just watching those couple of laps. It looked like a little bit, except for down the back straight, Sam Katakuzanos could be battling with a little bit of steering damage there, as it looked a little bit left-hand down, but I don't think it's hindering him too much. It might not be that way. It might just be a little bit of an illusion. But Sam Katakuzanos up 17 positions into the 10th position, though. Barry Neal, he's still extending that lead out at the front. He's just put another 10th on Scott Rankin to put that gap out to 5.87 seconds at the front. Scott Rankin is putting that gap on Todd Maxfield as well, just as quick. He's now out to over 3 seconds on Todd Maxfield in third. So Barry Neal running very strong early in this one. They will have to double stint a set of tyres though, Paul. So I would strongly suggest, with how hard Barry's running in this first stint, that he possibly is going to not double stint the first set of tyres and try get a bigger gap as he can and hold on for the end. I'm not sure whether I'm right. I'm mostly wrong here on the Indosim Esports Network, but with the pace that Barry Neal is holding at the front, I'm not sure that he'd be able to keep that pace up if he has to put another tank of fuel in that race car and go around on the same set of tyres. So we'll see how that plays out. So what do you reckon, Paul? I believe from what I'm seeing, he's building that gap and he's going to look at maintaining it. But like we say, if you don't have some good tyres in the bank coming into the back end of this one, where if history does repeat itself, we generally do see some late cautions and the odd green-white checker. So anything could happen, mate. So how do you see it all playing out from your eyes early in this one?
Well, I have Barry a little blink there, but yeah, I think Barry will be obviously making his gap on the front there, but I know Barry can do a good job of saving tyres there, and I know with this gap he'll probably use that gap to his advantage and keep the old tyres on the car while he's got that gap, and then look at taking the tyres in the second pit stop. So have the fresh ones to extend that gap if he can hold on to it, or pull that gap back, as he might be just trying to trick a few people into taking the tyres in the first stint by having that big gap, and everyone running too hard trying to keep up and chewing their tyres out. So if there is that late caution, then he'll have a good set of tyres under his car.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the down low from Barry Neal's teammate. That's how it's all going to play out right in front of you. Different to what I thought was going to happen. So we'll see whether you're right there, Paul, but he's definitely doing a great job. There's 5-second gaps now between the top four. They've completely bolted from the rest of the field. Aaron Dillon there sitting in the 4th position. He's got Cade Donnelly still sitting in behind him with Justin Witcher. Ruben Phelps, Aussie Esports, up there as well into 7th position. Weird to see Tristan Koch from Aussie Esports going a lap down early. He was running the Oreo livery, so not sure why there. Must have put the wrong thing in trading paints, but Tristan Koch went a lap down early, so he's had a few issues. Steve Hoppert is just tuned into the chat, Paul. Not the way I saw my race going. Now the guy who took me out is up to 10th. What a joke. So we've got the issue, Paul. Sam Katakuzanos has that damage on his car as we're seeing the battle here. Steve Hoppett's just jumped in the chat. That damage, or the markings down the left-hand side, was from a little bit of elbows out with Steve Hoppett by the looks of that, but we're still on board. Ruben Phelps now taking it to Justin Witcher here, but Paul, Steve Hoppett saying he's had an issue with Sam Katakuzanos in that one, so that answers how Sam got that little bit of damage down the left-hand side.
Definitely, and just going back down the all the little stats that pop up on the timing here, and I'll just see if we can maybe catch what happened on that pass. There we go, there's the pass there. So we'll go to the Sim Racer merch replay and we'll have a look. So it's like Sammy K on the start there was not holding his line, trying to get a early run there, and there it is.
There it is, trying to go 3 wide off the start, and just didn't happen. 2 cars trying to go into one. We don't have opinions here on the IndySim Esports Network, but not the way that Steve Hoppert wanted to start this one. And yeah, they'll obviously have a look at that post-race, but we will see how we go. Okay, Donnelly's now made the move on Aaron Dillon. I tell you what, Paul, it's really weird having a look at those cars driving around from the boys at... I'm just watching that. So their liveries are so much different for the Sim Boys cars. It's different to get used to. But Todd Maxfield now moving backwards. I reckon he's had a date with the outside wall, how quick he's moved backwards. We just saw Scott Rankin not too long ago, or we saw it on our timing rather, go past Todd Maxfield. And yeah, with how slow he's going, he's definitely had a date with the outside wall. And you can see there he's lost his front wing or front bumper or the under tray there on his front. No, that's just an illusion. That's an illusion. No, he hasn't lost his front. Yeah, I reckon you're right, Paul. Paul just here saying he believes he's chewed his tyres up too hard as he's dropping way back, but he's even dropping back in that top line speed. So we'll see how that pays out. No doubt he'll be one of the first to blink if that is the case. Yeah, he's just a sitting duck as Andy Barber scoots up the inside of him on turns 1 and 2, and Warwick Sharp's going to be the next one as well. Warwick Sharp with a good run last week, Paul, at Daytona Road Course. He had a lot of pace there in that car, and just unfortunate not to be able to convert that into a top 3 as he ran out of fuel late in that one. But Warwick Sharp, he started out of the 13th position. He's currently in the 14th position, so a nice almost top 10 position for Warwick Sharp early in this one.
And looks like Todd Maxfield's just popped into pit lane now. So if he takes a set of tyres now, he's going to really struggle to do just under 100 odd laps. About, what have we got, 87 odd laps there. There's a few others look like they're making their way into pit lane too now.
Yeah, it's going to be a long old slog. Joe Torcasio's in pit lane as well. Looks like Raymond Yeager's decided to go into pit lane as well. He's just gone 1 lap down. I'll just scroll down my timing sheets, ladies and gentlemen, and have a little look on there as Raymond Yeager's come back out. So Darren McKenzie's actually, he came down pit lane on lap 37, Darren did. So he's on a different strategy here. He's 16 seconds off the back of Joe. But now's the time that all the pits are about to start, because my live timing is just lighting up on me. So any second now, expect to see some of these leaders come into pit lane. But that gap from Barry Neal back to Scott Rankin in second is still staying at around about that 5-second mark at the moment. So Scott Rankin not able to peg back Barry Neal at the moment, Paul. So we'll see if that comes down anymore. If the first 49 laps of this one is anything to go by, Barry Neal's sitting in a really good spot in this one. Peter Matson there in the 19th position. He is started in 19th position, still in the 19th position, but now it is Barry Neal into pit lane. Barry Neal in, Scott Rankin's going to follow suit. So there you go, your leaders decide to come into pit lane here on lap 49, the start of lap 50. That's going to allow Cade Donnelly, Aaron Dillon, Ruben Phelps, all this big train here to take the lead of this motor race. So we'll see what happens when Barry Neal and Scott Rankin come out of pit lane. The question is, when is this little battle group going to decide to come into pit lane? They would have been saving a bit of fuel as we saw the difference in the race pace between your two leaders. So they'll go a little bit longer, but we'll see how that plays out for them when they get back onto the same strategy as Barry Neal and Scott Rankin, just a couple of laps better on fuel. So we'll see how that happens. Greg Spencer's decided to come into pit lane. I can see on my live timing as well. So he's decided it's time to blink and come and service his supercar here at Kentucky. But Nigel Payton, is that Nigel Payton? No, Justin Witcher. No, they got the same liveries. It's hard. Justin Witcher, your reigning champion, making the move up the inside of Cade Donnelly. So he wants to lead a lap here for the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian Supercar eSeries, and he's almost going to do exactly that. Will he get there across the strike? And he does that. So Justin Witcher leads a lap here to gain that extra point, but Cade Donnelly just flies straight back at him around the outside through turns 1 and 2. Nigel Payton sitting there in third spot as well. We did mention Raymond Jaeger came into pit lane, so he's off strategy with his teammates there. Ruben Phelps having a nice solid run in the 4th position. Cade Donnelly coming into pit lane. Looks like Ruben Phelps is following suit. That's probably Justin Witcher coming into pit lane as well. Tristan Koch in pit lane, then Curvis, Matson, Dillon. The list goes on. So now more than nearly half the field have come into pit lane. But Nigel Payton's going to stick it out the front and see how many laps he can lead here for round number 4. Sam Katakuzanos now up 25 positions after starting 27th, sitting back there in second. Looks like he's just gone low through that corner, so I expect him to be in pit lane very shortly, and he is. Sam Katakuzanos has just come into pit lane out of the 2nd position. Andy Barber's come in as well, so Andy Barber out of the 7th position has come into pit lane. But Nigel Payton, Gary Wellman and Aaron Bryan in the 3rd position here as these green flag pit stops do cycle through. So we'll just keep one eye on Barry Neal, who was your leader before these green flag pit stops did cycle, and it's Nigel Payton's time now to come into pit lane, and he's decided it's time to cycle through pit lane for a green flag pit stop. This is going to allow Gary Wellman to lead a race. Good to see Gary Wellman back this week for Sin Boys Racing. Wasn't there last week, but good to see him back this week. Hope he had a good trail or walking trail where he does a lot of that off-roady, walky, traily stuff. I'm not big into that, so I don't know the words, but to you...
Hiking.
Hiking, that's it. Hiking. There you go. There's another question you could have got me out of here on the Indocin Esports Network. So it is Gary Wellman leading the way. So all the guys early in this one, Aaron Bryan, Sean Hart, Adam Malone, Nigel Payton, Warwick Sharp, George Rankin. So everyone has come into pit lane except for your leader you see on screen now, Gary Wellman. So he's done a great job saving that fuel there in the 45 Sin Boys Racing car entry. But he'll be looking, or keep an eye out for him to come into pit lane very, very shortly to try and cover off what he could possibly lose here, as we see him do that right now, as you see those beautiful flames come out the side of that car. So he's gone into pit lane. It's going to allow Barry Neal to take the lead of this motor race once again, next time across the strike. But I tell you what, the story of these green flag pit stops, Raymond Jaeger has now jumped up into the 2nd position. He's only 1.7 seconds, and that's closing very, very quickly on Barry Neal here, who's struggling to navigate around Tristan Koch at the moment, as Tristan gets a bit loose there. Bit loose through those 1 and 2 turns, but here's your strategy playing out in front of us, Paul. Barry Neal wouldn't have taken these tyres, remember, exactly what Paul thought he was going to do, and this is why Raymond Jaeger is ranging right up onto Barry Neal really, really quickly. So we're going to see Barry just navigate that high line for as long as he can. Once he knows he's got enough fuel in the tank to go to the end, he's going to drop straight into pit lane and take his fresh tyres. So it will change a little bit here, ladies and gentlemen, but everything's still to play for. A lot here to happen for round 4 of the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian Supercar eSeries. Scott Rankin now up into the 2nd spot. He's taken tyres as well by the looks of that one, and he's just jumped Barry Neal. So this is the time for Barry Neal to save. This is where, how much is he going to save? How much is he going to sacrifice in track position with the different strategy? But I tell you where it's going to help him. Watch the 22, you can say the team name because I cannot say it, the 22 of Barry Neal come through with a head of steam at the end of this one. Ruben Phelps has decided to go with the strategy of the guys at the front as well by the looks of that one, and he has, as Barry Neal just moves out of the way of Ruben down into turns 3 and 4 once again. So we'll see what happens. Ryan Barber into the chat again. 3rd Supercars race I have watched this afternoon. Can't get enough of it. Well, hopefully we're doing you justice. Hopefully we're as good as Crompo and Scafie. But Neal's in the pit lane again. So this is interesting. This is a play. This is something out of the playbook that we didn't know was going to happen, Paul. Barry Neal into pit lane once again. So not sure what's happened with Barry there. We'll just keep on board with him for a second and see what happens as he comes into his pit stall. So he'll pull up there, obviously, in the first one after starting out of pole position. He's up, getting some tyres again. So he said enough's enough. I need some tyres. That was just too slow. So not sure what the strategy there was for Barry. He'll sit there a little bit longer and grab some fuel and get a full tank and come out. And we'll see him get back to race pace. But that's now put him completely off strategy with the rest of the field, Paul. So I don't know. What's your take on that one?
Oh, I think there could be something going on in the background, possibly. I don't think having done.
Stop on. He come through pit lane on.
Just wondering that.
I can't see actually live timing saying he's in pit lane, so it's not telling us what he's got. But yeah, you keep going with what you're saying before I cut you off.
On his way out now, so just wondering if he's, well, my thought was maybe he's just done a short stint on that second, on that same set of tyres, and then fuel to end, but definitely don't think it's fuel to end at the moment. It'll be still about 20 odd laps short, I think.
Definitely 20 odd laps short if we see where they pitted. Like, even if he can go as long as the likes of Gary Wellman currently in 7th and Aaron Bryan in 8th, they got to the mid-50s, 56 and 55 before they come through pit lane. So that's still going to put them around about that 25 laps short. So yeah, Barry Neal, he'll be running, obviously there's an extra 7 or 8 laps there, so he's still going to be about 15 laps short. So interesting strategy there by Barry Neal. But Adam Malone there up into the 10th position. That's Nigel Payton trying to go around the outside of, oh, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, talking too fast, on the outside of him. Must have been, yeah, as Paul said, it must have been that banana cake that I had before the broadcast. I'll tell you what, I'll be having some more of that before we go check a flag tonight. But that mid-line seems to be working really, really well as these green flag stints go. And we're caution for the first time tonight, 64 and 134. That brings the good time of the night, but let's go. We can't. Well, I don't think we've got anything for you. No, we do. We've got it. So we'll go to the Inside Lane Productions instant replay and see what brought out your first caution of tonight, lap 64 of 134. Sorry, simracermerch.com instant replay. We've got too many of those. But it looks like Philip Howe there trying to get out of the road. He's just stopped on track. So stopped on the track, a big no-no for the RayWhite Royal Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries. That's brought out a caution. So big thank you to simracermerch.com for sponsoring our replays, of course, if you're in the market for some... Oh, as someone's gone around under caution. Ian Quass gone around under caution. He's just ejected from the server. Let's go to that simracermerch.com instant replay. Once again, Ian's already had a battle with the outside wall. He's obviously not concentrating, gone, no, I need to pull it up, and just lost it. So... yep, night over for Ian Quass and under caution. So that's not something for Ian's highlight reel, Paul.
No, certainly not. Looked like he was slowing down there enough, so not sure what happened there. Maybe some technical difficulty perhaps, but pit lane is going to light up now as everyone's looking to get that extra top up of fuel under caution.
Yeah, most definitely, and we're seeing Scott Rankin, Justin Witcher, Raymond Yeager's decided to stay out as well as Ruben Phelps. Ruben Phelps coming in pit lane 10 laps later than Raymond Yeager, so a little bit of a different strategy here from Raven, but most of the field have come into pit lane. But as they do that, Paul, first caution of the night, you know what that means.
Trivia time.
Sports Network trivia. So everyone get ready for it. We'll be asking for your answers. And it's not supercar related, it's Kentucky Speedway related. Once again, no Google, because I'm watching. Big Brother is watching. Okay, when Kentucky Speedway opened, so when it first opened, who was the driver that first began track, who was the driver that did the track testing, who began the track testing at Kentucky Speedway. So there's a bit of a curly one for you. So when Kentucky Speedway was being built and almost ready, commissioned, ready to hold a championship race, who was the driver that began the track testing there? So, of course, you're first.
Can we get a hint on when Kentucky was opened?
Actually, I don't even know if I've got that. Oh, yeah, I've got that. Yeah, you can. I'll give you a hint, but it is another question that will probably bring you here. So I won't give you the exact answer, but it was in the 2000s.
Well, it's not an older driver then, so I don't know.
This palm trees and coconuts, mate. Palm trees and coconuts. Just think that.
What's his name? Chase someone?
Are you thinking Chase Elliott?
Yeah. Is that it?
No. You're wrong.
No.
You're wrong.
Of course.
But anyway, we'll bring it across to the viewers. Yeah, you're not having a good run, mate. I think you've got one wrong all year. So, one right, rather, all year.
Yeah, one wrong. I'd be pretty happy if I had one wrong. I'd be up on JCW level there, but clearly not.
Your name's not JCW, mate. So, but anyway, back to the viewers. If you are tuning in, your question is, who was the driver that began track testing at Kentucky Speedway when it first got constructed? So, let us know who that was. We'll give you a couple of minutes as they're under caution to comment here on the stream. Let us know your answers, of course. Do not Google it. This is not the easiest question in the world. So if you get it right straight up, I'd be a little bit... Your name's not JCW. JCW I'd probably understand, but yeah, not sure. But good little question. Give you a bit of hard ones tonight, but it is Raymond Jaeger who will lead the way. Next time we go green, it will be Ruben Phelps off the outside of that front row with Aaron Bryan and Sean Hart there on the second row. So Paul, teammates there with a nice solid run here, now sitting in the third and fourth position.
Yeah, definitely Aaron Bryan and Sean Hart. So they were last through pit lane on 55, so almost half the field going through pit lane at 65, so 10 lap difference there in strategy to quite a few drivers. Looks like Raymond Jaeger is going to be pretty much the odd one out, almost 23 lap difference there.
I think Raymond's strategy is the lights are off the pace car as they go down the back stretch. I think Raymond's strategy will be run it as long as he can and one stop to the end on those fresh tyres. That's about all he can do. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. We'll keep one eye on the likes of Gary Wellman and Scott Rankin. They came down pit lane through that caution, as did most of the rest of the field. So your highest driver who did is Scott Rankin in the 5th position off that third row on the outside. He'll actually start out of 6th, as you can see him there high on the third row. So we'll see what happens with that strategy, but it'll be Raymond Jaeger bringing us to the green. Ruben Phelps on the outside of the front row, Aaron Bryan, Sean Hart, as I said, second row. So pace car's in pit lane, the field's in Raymond Jaeger's hands. It's his choice when to go, and he goes. So we're green for the second time tonight for the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries, and it is Raymond Jaeger leading the way. Aaron Bryan with a good jump off the inside of that second row, getting the job done on Ruben Phelps early as Ruben just slots into the third position. Oh, as Bryan hits the apron through 1 and 2 and gets really wiggly through the centre of that turn. And Ruben luckily was wise enough to that one and just opened the steering wheel. But we've got Scott Rankin there, Aaron Dillon, Gary Wellman, Sean Hart, all having a nice little battle in this one. So we'll see who goes hard early. Raymond Jaeger's got a little bit of a gap on Ruben Phelps at the front, as do the front couple of guys, but this will be a nice little spicy battle as we go back. Green flag racing with Scott Rankin still staying on that high line. We've seen that work during this race so far when you've been in traffic. Obviously getting out of the draft through the corner sometimes can help because you get out of that aero wash when you're right behind a V8 supercar, especially on an oval, when you try and turn in at 300 kilometres an hour. Sometimes it likes to push and not quite turn in until you get outside of that draft because of that big air buffer coming off that big rear wing. So we can see that happening right now as Scott Rankin's getting a nice run around the outside. He's going to be pushed by Gary Wellman down the back straight. As Aaron Dillon tries to almost make it 3 wide there through the 3 and 4 turns. Apologies for getting the drivers wrong from the Sim Boys tonight. They a little bit of a different car. They do have the same colours, but they've had a little bit of a tweak. With their chrome, so that's showing up a little bit differently at night. But as this plays out with Scott Rankin and Aaron Dillon, Paul, back to the question. Ladies and gentlemen, your last chance to comment on the stream and give us what you think the answer to your first question tonight, as we've just had our first caution of round number 4. Who began the track testing at Kentucky Speedway when it was first built? So we'll give you another couple of minutes to do that, as Aaron Dillon does look like he's going to get the job done, but Scott Rankin just holding tough there on the outside. So, Paul, that outside line working very well, even though you're getting the draft down the back stretch, as it looks like Aaron Dillon's finally just got that one done as he pops up in front of Scott Rankin. Scott Rankin's going to look to go down the inside, and there was nearly big contact there down into turns number 3 and 4. Or was that 1 and 2? That was actually, 3 and 4. So that was nearly big contact, and that nearly brought out our second caution tonight there if Aaron Dillon wasn't wise to that move by Scott Rankin.
I did say there's going to be a bit of door-to-door tonight, and Aaron Dillon's car's definitely showing that now. But Gary Wellman was looking pretty racy in the mix there as well. So not sure if Gary made a little bit of contact on his teammate as he's about to do it again. Both the boys there from Sim Boys racing quite hard against each other.
And that's what we always see. There's no team orders for Sim Boys Racing. Sim Boys Racing, based out of Tasmania. So Tasmanians from Sim Boys Racing. I'm not sure whether all of them are. I know that Aaron Dillon, Gary Wellman, and I believe maybe Cade Donnelly, they're all mates. Christopher Finlay is as well. So they all are, and they enjoy catching up with each other in the shed and going sim racing. So if you wonder where they are there. And of course, we had Troy Davidson, their teammate, joining into the chat tonight here on the InSim Esports Network. So Troy, if you are, let us know if you're from Tassie as well. And they're doing a great job, so flying the flag for Tasmania. As we're on board there, Justin Witcher. So Justin Witcher's holding down the 4th position at the moment. He's got Cade Donnelly, Aaron Dillon, Ruben Phelps, Sam Catacouzenos and Sean Hart off the back of this little battle. Ruben Phelps has now dropped back a little bit, Paul. He was second to Raymond Yeager, and now he's just dropped back into the clutches of Sam Catacouzenos, Sean Hart there as well, going to get the job done. So it looks like Ruben's just struggling a little bit on his tyres as well.
Yeah, I wonder, obviously those that took tyres in that first pit stop, I can only imagine what punishment they put those tyres through in the first 40 to 50 laps. So obviously if they've worn them out quite badly, then they're going to have to be careful if they're going to do another 84 odd laps on a set of tyres, that they don't blow a tyre.
Yeah, definitely. So Ruben's obviously being very careful there, as we saw Todd Maxfield making his way past Ruben, as we saw Todd with a similar issue to that early in that first run, really chewing up his tyres. Raymond Yeager still doing a good job at the front, as we see Gary Wellman trying to make the move on Scott Rankin for the 2nd position. Scott Rankin still just holding down that mid-track line at the moment. That seems to be working really well for him during this race so far. So we could be seeing Scotty Rankin up here in the broadcast booth at the end of this one, but there's a long way to go. So yes, there is a little bit of history between these two, Paul. Thanks for reminding me. Yes, so a bit of history between Scotty Rankin and Gary Wellman. They seem to have buried the hatchet, though. Scotty Rankin said last week in the broadcast booth they seem to have buried the hatchet and they've raced cleanly. But I tell you what, this could reignite that little feud very, very quickly if something happens here. Troy Davidson just answering in the chat. He actually grew up in Tasmania with the boys. He now lives in Melbourne. So Troy Davidson down in Melbourne. It's only a hop, skip and a jump across the ditch though, mate. I'm sure you go across and catch up with all the boys. And your boys doing well in this one tonight, mate. Gary Wellman now getting that move done. He's up into the 2nd spot. Aaron Dillon 4th. Cade Donnelly in 5th spot. No Christopher Finlay tonight, but still doesn't mean the Sim Boys racing cars are not a force to be reckoned with tonight. We're seeing exactly that. Raymond Yeager's holding that gap down at the front, about 1.35 seconds over this 2nd place battle at the moment. Jamie Nankervis, a man that we haven't spoke much of tonight. He's still on the lead lap. He's up 5 positions in the 23rd. Oh, no, he's down a lap, sorry, as my live timing has decided. It stops every time they go across the line because they're catching up to cars a lap down. So Jamie Nankervis a lap down, not the way he would have wanted to start this one. He's actually gone 2 laps down now. The live timing's caught up. So Jamie Nankervis down in the 23rd position. He'll be looking for a solid run any week now. He's a man that's got some pace, but definitely has a lot of bad luck as we see the Doritos entry get a little bit loose down there on the inside of Jamie, just catching the apron through turns number 1 and 2. That's John Class. We saw Ian Class, a relative of John, no doubt, have a little bit of an issue under caution last time around. So John will be looking to not do that. So Ash Nessa's just come into pit lane. So he's come into pit lane to serve another pit stop. So he's possibly, by the looks of it, he can get to the end from here with 84 of 134. So he's the first driver to blink and get those freshies if he did, by the looks of it, with that strategy. Oh, as Class just keeps hitting that apron down on the inside. He won't want to keep doing that for too much longer because that's, one, not going to help the tyres. Oh, as he nearly gets into the back of Barry Neal there. Not going to help the tyres, but also not going to help the balance of that car. Scott Rankin now starting to fall backwards in this one. So Scott Rankin now, he's going to have Cade Donnelly and Sam Katakouzanos to fight off as Sam Katakouzanos tries to go up the inside of both of them there through the 3 and 4 turns. Scott Rankin going to get the run on the outside. But I'll let you know the answer. People haven't told us what they think the answer is here on the Indocimity Sports Network for question number 1. Obviously, we're getting too boring here with our questions, or they're a little bit too hard. But your answer, Paul, is Bill Baird. Don't ask me who Bill Baird is, because I've got no idea. Prue just writes the answers, other questions and answers for me. So, Bill Baird apparently was the person who began track testing at Kentucky Speedway. So, there you go.
Does he have a good beard? Did you find a picture of him?
Bill Baird.
Yeah.
Bill Baird.
Bear or Baird or...
Baird, as in Craig Baird.
Yeah, so does he... No, beard, like, you know, facial hair beard.
Well, it'd be fitting if he did, wouldn't it? It'd be fitting if he did, as Sam Katakouzanos has his best slick look there on his profile pic there. You see him down in the left-hand corner. That's Sam Katakouzanos. And I tell you, yeah, I don't know if he looks like that now. I don't know, but I'm not here to judge on the Indocimity Sports Network. We can't see what they're actually like, but Sam Katakouzanos with his slick little profile picture there, and he's just as slick behind the wheel tonight, jumping up now into the 5th spot, up 22 positions. Once again, the big gainer continuing to move forward into this one. So on to the leader though, Raymond Yeager. He's only got half a second now over Gary Wellman and Aaron Dillon. And Raymond Yeager's decided now's my time to go to the end. So he's going to come in and get some fresh boots and send that Pinnacle Esports racing entry to the end of this race. So every driver has to pit to get to the end. Who is going to do it? Cade Donnelly's decided to, Justin Witch has decided to, Darren McKenzie decided to, as there's a big battle going on here. Ruben Phelps, as he's gone straight down into Sam Katakouzanos there, and there was nearly a big incident between Sam Katakouzanos and Gary Wellman. You can see the battle scars there on the back of Gary Wellman. As there's nearly more incident there between Scott Rankin and Gary Wellman. There was that battle, and Ruben's just gone, okay, boys, you fight it out. I'm just going to go right down the inside of his, and sends it up the inside of Sam Katakouzanos. So I tell you what, 89 now into 134. Things are starting to heat up, Paul. RayWhite rule, Gayndah Australasian SUPERCARS eSeries. It's going to be an absolute stellar finish. So don't go away as we're 5 wide as Gary Wellman comes into pit lane. How do these drivers do it, Paul? 5 wide. I'm lucky enough to keep it on the track 2 wide, and they're going 5 wide through 3 and 4 at Kentucky Speedway. I don't think there's a car on the track without a little bit of a scar mark up the side of it. It started off so gentlemanly-like, and now it's elbows out, fists off, boys, let's go racing. So Ruben Phelps getting the job done on Sam Katakouznos. Ruben Phelps back in the 16th position, pitted on lap number 83, so he filled to the end. Ruben Phelps thinks he can get to the end 51 laps. So that's why Ruben Phelps is making these moves and getting away from the guys behind him. But in saying that, just keep one eye on Darren McKenzie in the background there. Just behind this battle, he's ranging up on the back of Sam Katakouznos. Darren McKenzie came through pit lane on lap 86. 3 laps later than Ruben Phelps. He's right up in behind him now. So Darren McKenzie, the 02 Southern Stars Esports Racing entry. We haven't talked about him a lot tonight. We mentioned that he was at the back of the field early, and Paul, he's definitely played that strategy that we thought. He just sort of sat at the back early, played his cards, waited to get that car into the window to go to the end, have a good set of tyres, and here he comes through the field.
Yeah, he's looking like he's definitely got some pace under that car now, so maybe just sitting back, conserving a bit of tyre. But now that it's go time, he's got the pedal down and he is looking like he's flying.
Yeah, he is flying. What's going to be interesting, though, is how long's Aaron Dillon going to wait to come into pit lane? He can now make it to the end on fuel with a set of tyres. So he was last down pit lane on lap 51. Sam Katakouznos now has finally taken his opportunity to lead this motor race. So are they running longer, hoping for a late caution to have fresher tyres at the back end of this one? I don't know what they're doing. Scott Rankin's now decided it's time to go into pit lane as he jumps out of 3rd place in the motor race and transitions through pit lane. Todd Maxfield's done the same thing as well there, Paul. So he's in pit lane. He's actually just making his way out there now. So Sam Katakouznos leading the way over Aaron Dillon, Sean Hart, Nigel Payton and Max Riley. Do expect the likes of Aaron Dillon and Sean Hart to make their way into pit lane very, very shortly to come and serve their last pit stop of the night. But I tell you what, before that happens, Paul, Sam Katakouznos, he's been in everything tonight. We've been on board with him once tonight. Let's go on board with him again. He is the hard charger, up 26 spots. Let's go on with Sam Katakouznos for a couple of laps around Kansas Speedway once again. Isn't that a time to go on board with Sam Katakouznos as he tries to navigate his way through some traffic? And apologies, ladies and gentlemen, I said Kansas Speedway as we went on board then. We are at Kentucky, so I'm getting all confused again for something completely different. But have a look at that for a different shot, Paul. Thanks for those images. Out the right-hand side net of Sam Katakouznos' car there. So it's a little bit of a different camera angle for our viewers. A little bit of testing there, Paul says, in the background. He needed to see if it works. Paul is a boy with his toys, I tell you. He loves all his little trinkets, and he's definitely got that going tonight. But Sam Katakouznos and Aaron Dillon, Sean Hart, Nigel Payton, Max Riley, and even Pete Matson sitting there in 6th, all still to come into pit lane. So they're going as long as they can. I tell you what, if this does have a late race caution, which we can come to expect at the Australasian SUPERCARS eSeries, not from bad racing, of course, just the way it usually seems to fall. These guys, if they stay on the lead lap, will be in a really, really good spot to take home the chocolates here tonight. But a lot to play out, but we're just about to go lap 99 to 100. That means 34 laps to go. So I tell you what, if they want to be a factor at the back end of this one, they'd want to probably come into pit lane pretty shortly. Are they willing to sacrifice that track position? But in saying that, a lot of the guys now who come through pit lane, the likes of which are Donnelly, Wellman, Rankin, not Rankin, sorry, Jaeger, they've already put 13, 14 laps on this tyre set. So their advantage is going to start dropping very, very shortly. So we'll see. But Max Riley's just jumped into pit lane out of 5th position. So he's the first of those top 5 to decide it's his time to come into pit lane, as Raymond Jaeger has Adam Malone over the back of him at the moment. Raymond Jaeger's got 3 lap better tyres than Adam Malone behind him at the moment. The next one closer to him with good tyres is Todd Maxfield. There, he came through pit lane on lap 92. Not sure whether Todd does have better tyres, to be honest with you too, because how he moved back in the field very, very quickly early in this one after actually holding down the 2nd position for quite a long time. So Sam Katakouzenos, Aaron Dillon, Sean Hart, Nigel Payton still leading the way. Raymond Jaeger still holding off Adam Malone there in the 10th and 11th position respectively. Raymond Jaeger that's got Scott Rankin just up in front of him there, as we're back on board with Sam Katakouzenos, using all the draft he can of these lapped cars at the moment to try and drag as much as he can out of this 968 Bushfink Racing entry and go as long as he can. So there's a car a little bit slower on the high line there through 3 and 4 as they make their way across the stretch one more time. Sam Katakouzenos, he'll be looking at, that looks like that's Sean Hart, is it, in front of him? Or is it his, yeah, Aaron Bryan, that's it, with the 2 Castrol Edge liveries. Sean Hart's in the green livery, so he's just going to go another lap down there, but that'll change when these drivers come into pit lane. 103 of 134, Paul, all happening here on the InterSim Esports Network, as we have become accustomed to see for the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries. Only one caution tonight, 30 to go. It's been great driving by all drivers so far.
Yeah, definitely. Plenty of action tonight, and I'm sure with 30 laps to go, things will be heating up once everyone's made their transitions through their final pit stops and rejoins the pack.
That's what I'm really interested to see, is what's going to happen with Aaron. Aaron Dillon's now just taken that spot over Sam Katakouzenos. So Aaron Dillon, Simboys Racing entry, just actually he was the season before this, he was the winner of that season as well. So no surprise here to see Aaron Dillon at the front. He's having a better season too for the RayWhite Royal Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries. But Aaron Dillon taking the lead here. Looks like he's going to come into pit lane this time around as he's going low. You can just tell with the difference of speed. So Aaron Dillon's decided it's his time to come into pit lane. Look at the battle scar side of that car as he makes his way into pit lane. So Sam Katakouzenos will resume the lead of this one once again. He's decided to stay out a little bit longer. Sean Hart 4 seconds off the back of Sam Katakouzenos at the moment, so Sam won't mind these cars being behind him as we're on board with Sean Hart there in that Castrol Edge livery I was just talking about. That's Pete Matson, RayWhite Rural Gayndah in behind him. Pete Matson is in the 5th position at the moment. He's a lap down on pit lane circulations or pit lane transit, so that's probably not a true indication, as Aaron Dillon's still in pit lane. He's still in pit lane. He's going to have to take a lot more fuel and he's out. So 24.08 seconds, the pit lane transit time for, or the pit stop time for Aaron Dillon as he drops down the field a little bit, but that will change. Nigel Payton here over the back of his teammate of Justin Witcher. So they're off strategy at the moment. Nigel Payton is sitting in the 2nd position, Witcher in the 5th position, I think. And that's how much is the difference in times. There's a whole lap between these two guys and they're still showing on the same lap. So if Nigel Payton gets this job done, Witcher will then go a lap down, I'm sure. I'm not sure if my live timing's catching up, but I'm sure by looking at these intervals, there's a whole lap difference between these two guys. Nigel Payton still has not taken his last pit stop. He was last through pit lane on lap 65. Justin Witcher on lap 86, so Witcher's fueled to the end and ready to go. So they'll just be working together a little bit now as Nigel's trying to extend his run as long as he can. But I tell you what, only 25 laps to go in this one. The man who is in the prime spot in this one is your man, Justin Witcher, looking at that live timing. Lap 86 was his last time through, as I just said. He's in 5th. So he's the first of these drivers that can make it to the end. He's got a 3-second gap on Cade Donnelly. So Nigel Payton, Pete Matson's in pit lane now as well. So Cade Donnelly, Pete Matson still needs to pit, rather. Sean Hart still needs to pit as well. Nigel Payton does, as he's on board with as well. And Sam Katakouzanos at the lead of this one. So Nigel Payton will just be trying to work with Justin Witcher here to try and push out his gap over Cade Donnelly in the 6th position on track, which will be 2nd position when the lead drivers do decide to take their last pit stop. Don't know if they're doing a job that that we saw Josh Mickelmore try to do the other night for the Next Gen Series, Paul, but I'm sure they're a long way out. They're not going to be able to do that. So it's not going to be a fuel save race, I wouldn't suggest, from lap 65 to 134.
Oh, maybe if they were under caution the whole race, they might be able to save that much fuel, but I don't think that'd be possible clutching the whole way around on a full fuel save run.
No, definitely not. And you'd end up 6 laps down anyway, if not the rest, if you did try and do it. So Sean Hart out of 3rd positions, now decided it's his time to go in. So they've left it late. So they obviously think that there's that much of an advantage on the freshie and they're able to do it with 22 laps to go. So this is going to be interesting. We've still got Sam Katakouzanos and Nigel Payton to come in and do their pit stop. They're the only two left on the circuit at the moment that we don't think or know that won't get to the end on fuel, and they're currently sitting in 1st and 2nd as Andy Barber makes the move now on Sam Katakouzanos. Andy Barber's good to go to the end. He's back in the 18th position. He's just getting a lap back there. He's 2 laps down, make it 1 now. He'll get that lap back again when Sam Katakouzanos comes into pit lane. So Andy Barber will go back on the lead lap. So when Sam Katakouzanos and Nigel Payton go into pit, Paul, Sam Katakouzanos has gapped Nigel Payton now by 7.5 seconds. It was 4.5 seconds. Sam Katakouzanos leaving it very, very late in this one.
Definitely, yeah, surprising that they're leaving it this late in the run. So the big question is if they've got a set of tyres in the bank, but I don't think they do. So the longer they're staying out, I think the bigger disadvantage they're going to be at.
Yeah, exactly. I think their track position is going to be hurt massively as Ruben Phelps has got the job back done on Darren McKenzie, that we saw Darren McKenzie get the job done on him about 20 laps ago when they did their last pit stop. So Darren McKenzie might have gone a little bit hard there trying to make his way through the field, but doing a good job nonetheless there in the 02 Southern Stars Esports Racing entry. But regardless of Sam Katakouzanos and Nigel Payton, whether they have tyres over the fence, they've still got to go through pit lane. So 50 laps, it's around about this time we're expecting him to come into pit lane. We saw Barry Neal, 49 laps was his target. A couple of guys got it out to around about the 55 lap mark. So if we look now, they're at lap 115 or 117. It's now 52 laps on this fuel tank, on this tank of fuel. So Sam Katakouzanos just passing Andy Barber again. So Andy Barber goes from 1 lap down back to 2 laps down. So this little battle's interesting. Andy Barber's not going to want to stay there. He's well entitled to fight for his lap back, as Jamie Nankervis wants to be a part of this as well, as he's in the background of this little battle. So we'll see whether Andy Barber just sits it out and sits behind Sam Katakuzanos and waits for him to pit, because he definitely will get those laps back when Sam Katakuzanos pits. But we're definitely getting to that magic number. We've only got 18 laps to go. Sam Katakuzanos, Nigel Payton will last through pit lane on lap 65. So, can they make it to the end? That is the question. I say no. Paul says no. Sam Katakuzanos might say something different. But looking at my fuel numbers, I don't think they can. Do you think they can, ladies and gentlemen? Everyone here tuning in on the Sim Esports Network, let us know who you think's got this one. Justin Witcher sitting in the prime position at the moment in the third position. But I tell you what, Paul, Pete Matson sitting in fourth, he does still have to pit as well. So unless he's doing something that the front guys at the front are doing as well. But he's having a great run after having an unfortunate night last week at the Daytona road course. He's having a really, really solid night and currently holding down the fourth position with nearly under 15 laps to go.
Yeah, so Sammy K's just made his way into pit lane along with Nigel Patton. So Pete Matson's still running this longer, but it gives Justin Witcher the effective lead of the race, as Justin will come around to pass both Nigel Patton and Sammy K.
It does give him the lead of the race, but I tell you what, he's not going to have it his own way, because Pete Matson, as you can see him behind, but look who's there. The Sim Boys cars, Gary Wellman and Cade Donnelly. Scott Rankin just in behind this battle as well, just down the road. So they're going to be ranging up onto the back of Justin Witcher pretty shortly, I would suggest. They're on a similar strategy. They've got 2 or 3 lap tyres better than Justin Witcher in the first position, but their benefit is they have each other to work with. So this will be a battle of 3 very, very shortly, and don't be surprised when this happens if these guys start battling, which they will with 14 laps to go. Don't you worry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Got Rankin and Sam Katakuzanos after that green flag stop has still come out in 5th position. So good strategy by Sam there. He's only 4.6 seconds down the road from Scott Rankin. So don't write off Sam Katakuzanos in this one just yet, as we're going 3 wide for the lead, and it's a Sim Boy sandwich. Justin Witcher being the meat in that one through the turns this time. Justin Witcher looks like he's going to get the better of him, but Sim Boys are going, mate, you've got nowhere to go. We're just going to sit either side of you. And look at that for a photo finish across the line, 122 of 134. Cade Donnelly the inside, Gary Wellman getting him a little bit of a tickle, Justin Witcher a little bit of a tickle on the outside there. So that is going to heat up really, really quickly. A few flashes in the background there by Brett Campbell, probably enjoying the action he's seeing there. I know what Brett Campbell's got. He's got that set from when we did the Suzuka 10 hour. He's got his headlight flashes set for him talking in his race chat, in his channel. So every time he's talking in his microphone, his headlights flash. So that's exactly why Brett Campbell was flashing his headlights there. So there's some more useless trivia here on the Sim Esports Network. But
that's definitely a good button to bind your voice chat to, as your headlight flashes.
It's actually funny. Yeah, it is funny, because I was sitting obviously in the chat with him when we were doing the 10 hour, and Tristan Koch, he was running around on the circuit when I wasn't in the car. I said, why do you keep flashing your lights? Said, old mate in front of you. He goes, I'm not, I'm just talking. It's every time I talk. I'm like, I don't know why you'd set that up, but they decided to, and then Brett decided that was a good idea. So as we went into the night time on the 10 hour, we were getting screamed at going, why are you flashing? You're a lap down. And it's just because they were talking to each other. So there you go, bit of more useless information. But Cade Donnelly, Justin Witcher and Gary Wellman having a nice little battle for the lead of this one. We're now under 10 to go this time across the strike. Got Rankin a further 2.8 seconds off the back of this battle. So it looks like at the moment this will be the battle for the lead, the battle for the win. Well, it is the battle of the lead, the battle for the win. Steve Hoppett's tuned in. He reckons Witcher's got the chocolates in this one. I tell you what, Cade Donnelly's got something to say about that, Steve. He's doing a great job in the first position at the moment. Cade Donnelly, no stranger to the winner's circle here for the Australasian Supercar eSeries. Of course, we'll never forget that great win he had at the Indy 400. Just for the final round of this series last year, he did a great job to win that one, just so narrowly over Stephen Williams, who unfortunately we don't see in the race tonight. But Gary Wellman's got the job done finally on Justin Witcher. So the SimBoys cars have made the move on the Pinnacle Esports racing car of Justin Witcher for that first and second position. So does Gary Wellman have anything for his teammate Cade Donnelly? We certainly do know there are no team orders in the SimBoys racing camp. So let's see what happens here. Justin Witcher might just be backing off a little bit. I'm sure he's got 3-lap tyres, a little bit older than these guys, so not sure that that's the case, but he'll be waiting for these guys to have a little bit of a battle and see whether he can come back at them in this one. It is definitely a battle of 3 because that gap behind has now gone out to 3.8 seconds as Sam Katakouzanos has ranged up onto the back of Scott Rankin. So we're on board with Sam Katakouzanos there. You can see Scott Rankin just up in front of him. We'll see whether Sam Katakouzanos can come back and get a top 4 position. I think he's a little bit too far behind these leaders at the moment with only 6 laps to go this time around. But look at the difference in pace. Sam Katakouzanos on those fresh tyres that will keep an eye on this gap. So Sam Katakouzanos has 4.8 seconds. Down the road is Justin Witcher. I'm just looking at their last lap times. It looks like they're about even. Sam Katakouzanos actually 3/10 slower, so not sure he's going to get there in time with this strategy he's decided to go for. But either way, it's been a great drive, up 23 spots, 4.8 seconds down the road. But Cade Donnelly, Gary Wellman still at the front. Gary Wellman, a race winner earlier in this season. Cade Donnelly, several-time race winner in this series across the first season and this one as well. Justin Witcher, no wins this season so far, your reigning champion. Can he get his first win of season number 2? Does he have anything for the 2 guys in front of him? Well, I tell you what, we'll know in about 4 or 5 laps' time. So Justin Witcher has just closed that gap just a little bit on Gary Wellman in that second position. We'll see whether he can get it done. So Justin Witcher, Paul Steve Hoppett's in the chat. He reckons Witcher will get this one done. He's just losing a little bit there through turns number 1 and 2. What do you think? Does Justin Witcher have anything to come back at the 2 SimBoys cars in front?
Oh, I don't know. I know the pace between Cade and Gary will be a hard thing for Justin, I think, to try and pass. Obviously, Justin's got to play it a bit smarter, as he's got no one there to work with, so he's just got to sit on the back of these 2 and maybe try and cool down the tyres a little bit or save them for the last sort of lap or 2, and then just go hard as he can, try and get in the middle of these 2, break that push and try and make his way back to the front. But it's not going to be an easy one for him.
No, it won't. And with being 2 teammates as well, they're going to get elbows out, as we saw when they made the move on Justin Witcher. They blocked him in there to make it a SimBoys sandwich. So now 2 to go here for round number 4 of the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian Supercar eSeries. Cade Donnelly leads the way. He'll take the checkered flag, the white flag next time around over his teammate Gary Wellman. Justin Witcher in 3rd position. So this is your podium, ladies and gentlemen. Which order will it be? Will it stay status quo? Does Gary Wellman have anything for Cade Donnelly? Will Justin Witcher come back up and claim his first race win of season number 2? Looks like he's a little bit far behind, but Cade Donnelly takes the white flag and takes his car down into turn number 1 and 2 for the last time tonight. He's going to make his way out of here nice and smooth. Gary Wellman not quite close enough to get the draft and be a factor in the turn number 3 and 4. So Cade Donnelly, just 2 more turns to navigate here around Kentucky Speedway, and Sam Katakouzanos falling back. But here we go as he makes his way off final turn. It's the SimBoys Racing 1 and 2. Cade Donnelly takes the win over Gary Wellman. Justin Witcher, Pinnacle Esports, up in the 3rd position. That's your podium. But Paul, good night of racing. Two cautions tonight, I believe it was. Two cautions. There's a nice little battle going across the line. All the drivers trying to make their way across the line. But mate, only a couple of cautions tonight. A night that went really, really quick here on the InterSim Esports Network. And what a drive by the Sim Boys Racing outfit there to get a 1-2 finish. Hard enough to get a win, let alone a 1-2.
Yeah, a good night in the office for everyone, us in the booth and the drivers as well. So always good to have some green flag racing and a few less cautions. But Cade Donnelly's just going to light those rears up and fry his tyres, or what remains of him.
He's enjoying his spoils here for the round 4 win. That's definitely going to help his championship assault. As I said, round 4 into your 11-round series. Of course, a massive thank you while we watch him do his celebrations there, and he's just ejected to come and hopefully come up and chat with us very shortly. But a big thank you to, of course, to RayWhite Rural Gayndah for being the major sponsor of the Australasian Supercar eSeries for all your real estate needs up in the Hervey Bay, Gayndah area of Queensland. Be sure to get a hold of Pete Matson and the crew at RayWhite Rural Gayndah, and they'll be sure to help you out. Of course, Witcher Electrics down in Melbourne, Victoria, for all your residential and commercial electrical needs. Be sure to contact Justin. Support the people that support our iRacing community. And of course, the Sim Racing Edge for being the sponsor of that leaderboard that got to work out tonight with all those pit strategies. The Sim Racing Edge, if you're after setups, etc. for your iRacing experience, they are the people that provide the setups for the Australasian Supercar eSeries. So go on to Sim Racing Edge and get a hold of those guys. So your winner tonight as we roll through your final standings, it was Cade Donnelly, Gary Wellman coming home in 2nd, Justin Witcher in 3rd, Raymond Yeager in 4th, Adam Malone in 5th, Sam Katakuznos in 6th after a nice solid race coming from the back. Sean Hart came home in 7th, Nigel Payton in 8th, Scotty Rankin in 9th, and Ruben Phelps rounded out your 10. Darren McKenzie, came home in 11th. Aaron Dillon in 12th, Todd Maxfield in 13th, Pete Matson 14th, Andy Barber in 15th, Aaron Bryan in 16th, Ash Nessa in 17th, and Jamie Nankervis in 18th as we go across the page. Coming home in 19th was Tristan Koch, Greg Spencer, year 20, Warwick Sharp in 21st, Brett Campbell 22nd, Barry Neal after leading the first stint of this race in 23rd, Joe Torcasio 24th, George Rinken there in his first night out brings it home in the 25th position. Max Riley, 26th. 27th was John Class. 28th, Philip Howe. Ian Class in 29th. And rounding out your 30 starters tonight was Steve Hoppett. You saw have a little bit of an incident with Sam Katakuznos early in this one. So it's just about that time, Paul. We've had a night of racing. About time to talk to the podium place getters here and have... What did I just say? I don't even know what I just said.
Oh, I think you said plodium.
Plodium. Did I say plodium? Did I just make up another word?
Possibly.
Anyway, we'll move the drivers up into the broadcast booth and have a little bit of a chat with them. All these drivers, no stranger to the broadcast booth. And we'll start off with your reigning champion, the 21er, Justin Witcher. Justin coming off a nice win today around Phoenix. You back it up with a nice solid podium tonight here for the Australasian Supercar eSeries.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
Mate, that was a good little strategy race. Just ran out of legs a little bit at the end there. You pitted a couple of laps earlier than Cade and Gary. It looks like they just had a little bit too much there at the end. But I tell you what, they made it interesting there going 3 wide and sort of making it a Sim Boys sandwich there for a couple of laps while they tried to navigate their way around you.
It's all good. Race close with these boys, so he wasn't too stressed. I think I got into Gary a little bit, but I was trying to keep out of Cade's way. So, as people say, you can pick who you can race close against, and these two boys are two of those guys that you can.
Well, it's good to see you up here in the booth and have a chat with you once again. Of course, as we've said several times, the reigning champion come into this round in the top 3, only a point or 2 off the series lead after the first 3 rounds. You've got to be happy with grabbing another solid bag of points and a podium here for round number 4.
Yeah, it's the first time I've come near the podium this year. But no, it's good to be sort of up there in the championship as well still. And yeah, just take it 1 week as it comes, 1 week at a time.
Well, I'll just quickly give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about Witcher Electrics, just really, really quickly. I do talk about them on the broadcast. You're obviously located down in Victoria. Just quickly let the people know where you are around about in Victoria, where they can get a hold of you, etc., if they do want any electrical work down in that region.
We're in Ballarat, Victoria, which is about 100 k's west of Melbourne. Just do general domestic, commercial, electrical stuff, service repairs, all that sort of stuff. We are moving into the farm scene, doing a bit of farming electrical out Skipton, Smarsdale, all that sort of way. If there's any farmers west of Ballarat again, we're more than happy to sort out what you need.
Well, hopefully all that travel doesn't, I know you probably got employees there for that as well, but hopefully all that travel and that doesn't take you away from your iRacing, because I tell you what, you're bloody good at it and doing a great job there for your P3 once again. But of course, you've got to have people to thank for your podium tonight.
Firstly, Sim Racing Edge. Those boys do our paints and also give us setups for our open races. Also, the boys at Pinnacle Esports, so Matt, Nige, Raymond, and Greg. I don't think there's too many more now, so that's about it. Oh, and you two boys at Intersim, obviously. You guys put on a show every week. And coming from the admin side of it, you do a really good job, and thank you for it.
No worries, mate. It is our absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoy watching it back. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen, your winner of round 4 of the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries. Your place 3, your winner. Your place 3 of round 4 of the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries was your defending champion, Justin Witcher. Now we go across to your second place getter tonight, Gary Wellman. Back in the series off after your hiking experience last week, which I didn't know what to call it, whether it's hiking or what you do, but off last week, had a good run the week before, and straight back in and straight into the podium, mate.
Yeah, no, happy with that after a week off. It's a bit of a bugger to give up the series lead to go hiking, but yeah, that's it, I suppose. It's the way things roll, and yeah, good to be back on the podium again.
Well, mate, it's Simboys Racing at the point again. Got a 1-2, hard enough to get a win, let alone a 1-2. You two have got to be happy about that one. Not quite enough to have the speed on Kate at the end there, or a little bit of teamwork. We know you don't really have team orders there for the Simboys Racing, but not quite enough to get the job done on Kate.
Yeah, not quite. He had good pace, and I think we were pretty happy to kind of just get those last couple of laps done. We didn't know if Justin had anything up his sleeve for us at the end there, so yeah, we were just happy to go single file and not bugger it up like we've done before. So and I think that's the second 1-2 this season. So yeah, we can't complain with that.
No, definitely can't complain. We saw Troy Davidson tuning into the chat as well, mate. He was there supporting you guys, so he'll be happy to see you guys get a 1-2 tonight. But I'm sure you'll have some people to thank. You say there's not a long list, but I'm sure there's some people you want to thank for your P2 tonight.
Yeah, mate. Just again, Sim boys. Me missus, she was watching this one again, so a bit of a trend happening there. I'll seem to go all right when she's watching. But other than that, mate, you guys for the good series, into Sim and all the series sponsors. Yeah, just appreciate the series. We'll have a good time and we'll keep coming back.
No worries at all, mate. Congratulations on your P2. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Your second place getter for round 4 of the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries. It was Gary Wellman, and that moves us across to the man of the moment, Cade Donnelly. Cabo, as you're there in Discord and as your teammates call you, mate, at the pointy end again, getting another W for the Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Pretty happy with that.
Yeah, you got to be happy with that. Always quick in these cars, especially around the ovals. Mate, got that strategy done pretty well. You pitted 3 laps earlier than the likes of Justin Witcher. I think it was a lap difference between yourself and Gary as well. I was a little bit surprised to see the likes of Sam Katakuznos go so long into that stint late at the end. Was that something you were a little bit surprised to see?
Nah, mate, I wasn't really focused on anyone else but myself.
Well, that's fair enough. That's good. We have no option, but we have to. But Sam Katakouzanos actually took it to under 20 laps before he came in and took his final pit stop. So he had pace at the end there, got up to the 4th position, dropped back in 6th, but nothing for you guys at the front. Were you surprised to see not as much pack racing tonight? Sort of at the start there, Barry Neal jumped off to a really, really big lead. Were you expecting, I know there's a lot of 2-wide action, but were you expecting a lot more pack racing than what you saw tonight?
Yeah, because I think, charging out hard, you just burn your tyres off, and I think a few people probably suffered from that. So it was kind of, I think a few of us was just sort of backing it off, happy to stick in a bit of a group and wait to see what happened as far as the cars that charge off, burn off the tyres and come back to you in the race. But yeah, as far as pack racing, yeah, it wasn't as congested as I thought it'd be.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. It didn't look like that from up at the broadcast booth. But either way, mate, great job getting the win tonight. And even better for getting the boys 1 and 2. I bet you it's not far off until you get the boys in a 1, 2, 3 and you have a Sim Boys lockout there on the podium, no doubt.
Yeah, mate, should be a party night, that one.
Yeah, so it's a night we need to travel down to Tassie and have a few brewskis by the looks of that one. But Cade, congratulations on your P1. Of course, your turn to have a shout out to anyone involved with your win.
Yeah, just the boys, as always. Yeah, that's pretty much it, mate, to be honest.
No worries, mate. Sometimes less is more, but big congratulations on your P1. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Your winner for round number 4 of the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian Supercar eSeries. It was Cade Donnelly, but Paul, what a night of racing. Sim Boys 1-2, reigning champion in P3. We couldn't ask much more here on the InterSim Esports Network for round number 4.
Definitely not, and with another win under the belt for Cade. We should probably check out how the championship points are faring after that one, Aiden.
Yep, we'll go across and we'll have a look at the provisional standings after what was round number 4. Justin Witcher now takes the lead. He's 131 points. He's got a 4-point advantage over Scott Rankin, who was your championship leader coming into tonight. Cade Donnelly now in the 3rd position, up 3 spots. Sean Hart 4th, Gary Wellman in 5th, Raymond Yeager 6th, Sandy Barber 7th, Darren McKenzie 8th, Aaron Dillon in 9th, and Troy Davidson, who missed out on racing tonight, in the 10th position. Greg Spencer 11th, Warwick Sharp 12th, Ash Nessa 13th, Adam Malone 14th, Pete Matson 15th, Brett Campbell 16th, Christopher Finlay in 17th, and Sam Katakouzanos in the 18th position. We'll keep going through the field before we wrap up all the action here on the InterSim Esports Network. Stephen Williams in 19th, Joe Torcasio in 20th, Nigel Payton 21st, Barry Neal 22nd, unfortunate night for him tonight. Dwayne Priest in 23rd, 22, yeah, very good point there, Paul. Dwayne Priest 23rd, Tristan Koch 24th, Aaron Bryan in 25th, John Quast 26th, Matt Payton back in 27th, and Max Riley in 28th position. We'll keep going through them. Ian Quast 29th, Matty Simpson in 30th, Derek Jacobs a no-show tonight in 31st, Jamie Nankervis 32nd, Ruben Phelps in 33rd position, Terry Marwood in 34th, Todd Maxfield 25th, Tom Pritchard 35th, sorry, Tom Pritchard 36th, Shannon Wright 37th, Double D, Dave Douglas, after one show, very early outing last week, 38th. Steve Hoppett, after an unfortunate tonight, in 39th. Sean King in 40th. George Rinkin, first night out tonight, comes home with 12 points, 41st. Philip Howe, 42nd. Michael Shaw, 43rd. Blake Trillbrook in 44th. And Evan Horswell in the 45th position. But that is your 45 positions, therefore, after what was round 4 of the RayWhite Rural Gayndah Australasian Supercar eSeries. That brings a wrap to all the action here around Kentucky Speedway, but it doesn't stop here on the InterSim Esports Network. Be sure to join us this coming Tuesday night, where we bring you the next instalment of the Blendline TV Pro Car GTE Championship Tuesday night, your location will be the Red Bull Ring. We will go live from 7:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time or 8:15 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, wherever you may be. So be sure not to miss all the action here on Tuesday night. We will then be back with you on Friday night, where we will head to round number 7 of the simrigs.com NASCAR Next Gen Series. Your location will be Homestead Miami Speedway for another 134 laps of jam-packed action. You will see us live here on the Indasim Esports Network from 7:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time, 8:15 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, wherever you may be once again. And then we are back here next Sunday night for what will be round number 5 of the RayWhite Royal Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries, and we are going super speedway racing. We talked about pack racing. We're about to see it for round number 5. Your location will be the iRacing Super Speedway. 67 laps rather. Your duration will be live from the same time, from approximately 6:50 p.m. this time, Australian Eastern Standard Time, or 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, wherever you are located. But that brings to an end once again round 4 of the RayWhite Royal Gayndah Australasian SUPERCAR eSeries. Your winner, Cade Donnelly; second place, Gary Wellman; Justin Witcher, third place. But from myself, Paul, and everyone at the Indasim Esports Network, we thank you for tuning in and look forward to seeing you Tuesday night.